This is a Flying Cow production.
Well, hello and welcome back to the FCL Flashback here on the Flying Cow. I, of course, am your host, Clay Johnson, the Flying Cow himself, and here with me today to talk all things FCL is Sean Wingblade.
It's me. I'm here. I'm the problem. It's me.
It's all right. Yeah. In case anybody was wondering, that's why we didn't start on time. It was all Sean's fault.
What? We're 2 minutes. We're a minute and a half late.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. And I think we had like one other person waiting, so we're fine. We're fine. But as anybody who has seen this before knows, the FCL Flashback is all about discussing what was, what might have been, and what is now when it comes to anyone associated with the FCL. And of course, I am here talking to the uncrowned FCL IG champion himself, or I guess self-proclaimed.
I was crowned. I crowned myself.
You crowned yourself.
They wouldn't do it, so I did it for myself.
Yeah. But
True.
do you still have that belt somewhere?
I do. It's actually it's behind Superman over here.
Oh, okay.
Which
There
you can see my wife's cricket like she has like a she makes t-shirts and stuff.
Gotcha.
It's back there somewhere. I don't remember where it is. She rearranges stuff without my knowledge more often than I'd like. I'm like, no, I have it in. Just give me these last 2 rows. Let me. But we had a birthday party. It's my daughter's birthday, so we got everything out of the living room into the office basically just to get it out of the way yesterday.
Fine.
So everything is still a mess.
All right. Well, like I said, we are here to talk about your time in the FCL, and. If memory serves, you and I came in around the same time. Is that?
Yeah.
Because I know your first match was with Brennan, so it would have been after, because he and I debuted in the same match.
Right.
So you came in after me, but not long after.
I want to say Brennan's second match.
Yeah,
so it was that's shortly
right.
after you guys played each other.
Yeah.
And we definitely weren't on the first wave. I know I wasn't. I didn't apply for it. I didn't send in a tape for the Schmodown, and I didn't apply for the FCL in that first wave of people who came in. It was after the fact, definitely, when I was like, I could do this.
So
let me try it out.
Yeah, go ahead and give us all a background on how you did get into the FCL. When did you decide to apply, and then what was that leading up to your first match?
So the Schmodown in general, if you're watching this for the first time, you don't know what the Schmodown is. The Schmodown in general, the movie trivia, and then the FCL being the feeder league, the minor leagues, whatever you want to call it, the digital league, essentially, as it kind of became, especially towards the end.
Especially towards the end, we were basically just the digital arm of the Schmodown, the movie trivia Schmodown.
I've loved the Schmodown since I discovered it. Campia Merle was my first match. And,
wow!
That was the first match of season 3.
Yeah,
and then I have seen or heard, because I listened to a lot of them, every single match, whether it be Patreon only, exhibition matches, whatever. Especially when they started re-releasing all the old Schmoes, because I didn't know who the Schmoes were before then. So when they started re-releasing all the old stuff on the playlist, and I would listen to them. I have a lot of headphone time at work, so I get to listen to a lot of things. So I was always a fan, but I was always a fan from afar. I was like, but I was always like, as any of us were like, I could do this. I can answer these questions, right? I'm good enough. And then you know, the new season happened and they added all the extra movies, especially in IG, you know, like an extra 100 movies of
Yeah.
Transformers and all the dystopian stuff and Alien and Predator.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, I felt like I was playing catch up the whole time.
Sure.
Because there was a lot of films I just hadn't seen. I'd never seen any of the Alien films other than like AVP or something. So there was just stuff just stuff I'd seen Predator, but like I never saw Predator 2 and so there was just a lot of stuff I was playing catch up on. And over the draft season, I had become friends with Jesse, and just through Twitter and then through guesting on his channel, which has now become our channel. Shout out to Flick and Reel, go subscribe. And you know, we created a friendship out of that. Me just hitting him up one time, and then it was me and him. You know, he was getting prepped for his matches, so I was helping him train. So I was writing a ton of questions.
Yeah.
And it was always a lot of stuff like, I know this stuff, like I could do this, you know, that type of thing. And so after the FCL started, and it was like, hey, this is your chance to try it out, right?
Right.
Give it a go. And I had not sent in an audition for the Schmodown, so I wasn't on that first line of invite for the FCL. I didn't know about it until they announced it.
It's okay. I did, and I wasn't either. So
well, yeah. So I was like, all right, you know, I was watching from afar, and especially when I want to say, like, just the first matches in general, I could see, and I think it got harder as time went on, but I think that first couple of events happened was very much, you could tell the level of questions that they were writing. They were more trying to get people's personality out.
Yeah.
The question difficulty was an afterthought.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely started easier, but I mean, again, you know, I think when, you know, there, not to say there were a lot of people complaining about it, but definitely people were pointing it out. But again, it was supposed to be a developmental league.
Yes,
it wasn't at that time. It was definitely supposed to be developmental, that you were then supposed to be called up to the big leagues of the Schmodown.
Called over as it became, as I think most of us became, you know, a little bitter, like not up, over. Yeah. I'm willing to travel.
Well, yeah. I mean, it definitely, you know, it ended up taking on a life of its own, and then, you know, the questions, the difficulty rose. Definitely.
They did. And I think right around the time when I joined, because I remember even watching like the first IG match, Kat and
it was Kat and Keaton Markey.
Keaton Markey.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely. This is all. And it could have been the nerves. It could have been the questions. It could have been.
I would have been perfect in that match.
Yeah. I want to say I can't remember all the questions, but I remember doing very well. Maybe close to that as well. I think I definitely messed up on one of the release date questions, but
sure.
But either way, so watching when I went into my first match with Brennan, we were second. No, we were first on the card, and so we were watching Matt and who was the other guy? Matt and.
I don't remember.
There was another IG match, and I remember they didn't do very well.
Sure.
But there was difficult questions.
Oh, that's right. That was like one of the. It was the second IG. Card, but it was like all IG. Yeah, I do kind of remember that.
But the level of questions definitely took a step up. Not to say that they were super hard. They weren't championship level, but they weren't they weren't the who started.
They weren't even as hard as they got, but they were harder. Yeah.
And I think one, the nerves of the first match, but two, I don't think I was just prepared for the step up, because I wasn't I was expecting a little different level of questions. So I definitely faltered in that first match, but I think it was kind of like mostly nerves. Like if you look back to the Brendan match, and I haven't rewatched it, and I don't know where it is at the moment. They asked who's Elrond in Lord of the Rings, and I literally write HUG, and I just froze.
Oh,
just my brain shut off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's Agent Smith, he's Megatron. Like I'm just going through like the Rolodex, and I'm like
going through everything you can think of. Yeah,
Hugh Jackman. No shit, that's wrong. I'm like just trying. I'm like hugs a lot. No, I just my brain just shut off, and I don't. And it was all I can equate it to was nerves, right? I know
Sure.
Hugo Weaving. Everyone knows Hugo Weaving. Like, but I was just like, I don't know what even happened in that match. And I still almost won. Like it even came down to a 5-point question, which was good. You know, I'm lucky I got. And there was a little bit of controversy with the Harry Potter question in the middle, which Brennan was correct on. I stole it, but what am I going to do? Yeah, that's competitive. But so I mean, like in the lead up to that, like what even led me to put I was like, hey, you know, I can do this, and then really get a lot of encourage from my friends. So I was part of the Action Army, so there's a lot of like people in the action general type stuff, and then also part of Roka's group, and then like for like confidence from Jesse, and like a lot of like encouragement and stuff like that. So I filmed, you know, I filmed a whole audition that I never used.
Oh wow!
Me as a heel, and I used my kids in it.
Okay.
I used my kids, and I was like slapping ice cream out of their hands and stuff. I was going off a lot of like wearing sunglasses makes you evil type of energy.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we never used it. And then I had a buddy come over, help me film too, and like we were doing slow motion shots, and like it was a whole thing going on. And then I eventually sent in a different like they're like, oh, they want to see some versatility. It's not about the trivia, and that's the feedback I was getting. I was like, all right. So I switched it up, and it went a completely different direction. And basically, I made fun of PLD and Bateman in my audition tape. I did an homage to Lon Harris, but I wasn't trying to make fun of him. But it was a good time, and then it got me enough, and I think I had a relationship enough to be like, hey, you know, look at mine. It's sometimes not what you know, it's who you know. Not to say I think I earned my spot, but I definitely needed to be like, look at mine. Here, put a shiny star on mine. Don't pass it over. Right. So I got some good feedback too, and I remember even before the Schmodown part, I don't know how involved Christian was, but he did watch mine. I was told that correctly. Like he did. He liked it. He's like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, cool. I got a thumbs up from the big guy. So it was good to hear. It was good that I was on the right track at least, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, you know, you debut, and unfortunately it doesn't go well against Brennan. Like you said, though, you know, you got it back, and it wasn't a blowout or anything like that. You both went to your fives. It was
the last second change for both of us too. So that was not
yeah, I was about to say, I know Brennan was originally supposed to have a singles match for his second match, and then that didn't work out. And I think that was a week that they couldn't replace it with anything and just ran something else instead.
I already had
it
mine
happened
scheduled.
Like last minute.
Yeah, I already had mine scheduled the week after. I was helping Brendan train for his match.
Right.
I wrote him a whole bunch of like, it was like, I wrote a ton of like Black Cinema questions, 80s questions. Like there was a bunch of categories that I was like assigned to do for like what was going to be his stuff. And like the day of maybe, or the day before, I think it was when the promos might have come out. The other guy had to back out for whatever reason, and so they were left high and dry with no match for that day.
Right.
So and then coincidentally, like the next day, my opponent dropped out as well. She couldn't get out of a work thing, and so basically,
was it someone that ended up playing?
No, she never played.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, she never played. So yeah, I don't know what her goals were, but I think it was very crowded at that point too, so it's kind of tough to get in. But so it was a last minute offer to Brennan to come in and play me in IG, which you know, Brendan and I were teammates on in Roka had a Patreon league for his patron members, and so we were teammates, and we were pretty good. We bounced well off each other as far as like strengths and weaknesses and stuff. So I knew how good he was. I didn't want to play him in any way, shape, or form. Not singles. I mean,
I had played him before in singles. And I mean, you know, our match people kind of glance off the fact that our match was actually very close.
Yeah.
I did not push him to his 5, mostly because I had a really tough 2 and 5. But but I knew firsthand how good Brennan was. So when I saw him coming in against you, I mean, I was rooting for Brennan just because I knew Brennan. And then right. Right. But obviously, you had that match and things didn't exactly go your way, but as you said, you weren't really like ready for the level of questions, first match jitters, all of that stuff going into it. So you had your second match and you played James Shimo. Yeah. And at that point, even though I don't think it had been announced yet, we already knew that we were going to be part of that. I was part of the Sinister Syndicate. I was the first new member into the Sinister Syndicate, and so we were helping each other, train. And I remember when we were preparing for that match, I told him, I was like, I would guess that Wingblade's probably better than this match, but I still think you can take him. was what I told Shimo.
He went perfect against Elena, right? I think I think he had to answer like his 2, but he went perfect for the other.
Because I think you'd both only had one IG match prior to the match with each other, right? And then I'm. It's been a while since I've watched that match, but from what I remember, it was pretty neck and neck till the end. Right. I know he went to his 5. Did you have to answer your 5 as well? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I answered my 5 to go up by like 2 or something.
Oh, okay.
And so his 5 was the break, basically. Right. If he would have answered, he won. If he didn't. Obviously.
Right.
So it is what it is. And I got the exact slice that I did not want in that match. If I remember, I know I got animated.
Yeah.
And
because a lot of the questions that you got, we had actually discussed in our study session. And in fact, I can't remember who it was, but I told somebody his 5-pointer, was the question, what was the name of the horse that Aragorn rides throughout the remainder of that film. And Brago. I knew, but for whatever reason, we actually specifically talked about the Lord of the Rings, and we had discussed Theodred.
Right.
But I never brought up Brago. And
I think you only hear it twice in the whole trilogy, right?
It's not brought up a lot. Like, honestly, I remember it more from the because I used to have all of the extended and would watch all of the like behind the scenes stuff like constantly, because there was a point at which those were like 2 of only like 5 DVDs that I had access to.
Just have it on loop,
So I watched all of that, background material and everything like that, and they say it much more during that. So I knew it, but I was like, we didn't talk about it, and I saw the look on his face. He was like, the freaking horse. I was like, dude, I can't believe we didn't talk about this.
I knew it immediately, and as soon as I knew he didn't know it, I wrote it down just to flex a bit.
I know. I remember that. I was like, of course he knows.
There was a little bit of saltiness because he was playing the heel, so it's fun when you can get one up on a heel, and then you kind of have like. I wouldn't say I was playing a face. Like, honestly, and that's a discussion we can have. There was zero storyline talk with me ever about anything. So I didn't know what I was. I was just coming into play. But I was like, I wanted to. You can dig at a heel if you win.
Oh, exactly. I would definitely have described you as a face, because you're likable. You're not a jerk. There was an edge to you, but it was a playful edge.
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of like what Brennan did the same thing. He kind of. He needled needled the host and
Right.
everybody still loved him because he's Brennan, because
Right.
just the way that he comes off. And I think it was similar to what you were doing. You could needle the right people,
Sure.
but you still weren't a jerk. You came off as likable. So yeah, I definitely would have called you a face. But so that, how many matches total did you have? Do you remember?
By the end of the FCL, I was 3-1. Just the
Okay,
one
so
with
it was
Brendan.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had the same number of matches I did.
Yes, mine were all IG though. You
Yours
hadn't
were
played
all
singles
IG. I had
twice, I
two.
think.
Yeah, I had 2 singles, 2 IG, and I was 1-1 in both.
Right.
Unless of course you want to go by the cows counting, in which that first match did not count, so I was
Right.
undefeated in singles.
It was a contract exhibition, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I mean, it was all for. I mean, I told Brad, I was like, apparently that one I wasn't an actual member of the roster, so it does not count. But so that does bring us to our match.
Mhm.
And, I remember they told me that I was playing you like just a little bit after you beat Shimo.
Mhm.
I don't think it was too long after that. And I just remember going, well, crap, he beat Shimo, and I know Shimo could beat me. So, I'm just like, okay. So, like, we went, we had, a lot of study sessions and stuff like that. And my main goal with you, just like I said with David, my main goal was just to not get knocked out.
I mean, that's kind of, it's always the goal for anyone.
Yeah.
That was my goal going into Shiva. I'm like, I just have to kind of hold my own here. Like,
right.
This guy just went perfect. So I need to make sure that I can
Yeah.
at least like get him to his, 3-pointer type of thing.
Right. So, we get them at, I mean, I will say I hadn't met you or anything, but I knew you were friends with Brennan, and, nobody said anything but glowing things about you. So I was like, I feel like I can have fun with this guy in this match. And I will say, and I've told you before, but after this match, I always had a ritual where I would call my family because they would always watch the matches live.
Okay.
And we'd talk, whether I won, whether I lost, it was kind of a nice debriefing, kind of a nice way to like, bring yourself down. Because, there's an adrenaline rush that goes with those matches. There really is. And, so it was a nice way to kind of like come down. And when I was talking to my mother after the match, she just went on and on and on about how great our chemistry was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like she was just like, you need to work with him more. You guys worked really well off of each other. And I remember thinking, it was fun. I think that we worked well together, but I remember thinking, I didn't think it was like that much better than any of my previous matches, but okay. She just really liked the energy that you brought.
I wanted to, I think it was the character you bring made it a lot easier to go in with a tongue-in-cheek type of attitude, where it's like just ready to just smile and have some fun. And me, terribly mispronouncing cow language, whatever you might, bovine tongue. And I want, I obviously made a point of that in my pre-match trash talk, I guess.
The promo. I do want to talk about the promo. Because I will say I loved the fact that you tried to throw in some cow. I was like, that's a great, especially the little like subtitles that you put underneath. Those were great, especially the one that you did that you were just like moo, and it was this huge thing. I was like, okay.
Inflection means a lot. You can infer so much just from a single word, right? I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be a good time, and the way Adam cut it up, because Adam Witt was the fantastic editor for the FCL, so he did a good job at chopping our stuff together.
Yeah, again, hats off to Adam Witt as always for editing the promos. always made me look a lot better than I probably would have otherwise.
Did you? I made a couple TikToks about it too. Did you see my TikToks that I had made?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay. I don't. I think I put them on Twitter. I want to say I tagged you, but I had never made a TikTok before, so I was just having some fun. There was and I think I might have I deleted them because I had like the tune in this Tuesday to watch, like, so I was just like, oh well, that's long over. Let me delete these.
Gotcha.
But I had one where I was like talking smack and I was like, it's a lovely day to win a match, and then I was like, I'm not afraid of anything, and then I had my kid throw a frisbee over my head.
Yeah.
And I had on it, and I dubbed in "moo," and I was like, ah, and I, like a flying cow over my head. So I ran away from it.
That's funny.
It was a good old time. And then I put the tag up.
Okay, I think I might have seen that on Twitter. Then, yeah,
it was just in my. It was just in my front yard. I was like, here, throw this over my head, and then I moo.
That's great.
I thought that would play well. It was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will say I usually, talk about the things that were cut out of my promo, but it wasn't really anything big this time. I think I made a reference to the fact that, I found your study techniques interesting, but I preferred to watch the movie because it caused less head trauma.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, like I said, the ultimate promo, I rewatched both that and the match, and the promo is just, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, with you doing the cow and doing the whole training thing. Yeah.
So that was a leftover idea I had from a Schmodown audition that I never obviously recorded. Sure. But at the time it was like, hey, audition for the Schmodown, call out a character and give us like 2 minutes of who you are and 2 minutes of a promo, of like cut a promo on someone, right?
Right.
And so I just had a fun idea because at the time my kids were doing karate, so I had a punching bag in the garage just hanging up. And so at the time, Adam Hlavik, his nickname was the Haymaker. And so I had a whole thing. I just came up with like a whole thing centered around boxing, and I was like, I'm gonna be the real knockout or something like that. And I never recorded anything, never went with it. And then he never played again after that season. I think he quit playing anyway. So it would have been a moot point to go on and record.
I mean, David told me in the last episode that he called out Shannon Barney. So
right.
You start a promo war with that woman, and you're asking for something.
I bet there's a lot of stuff that no one ever saw. People I'd be like, it's 90% Roca, and then like 1% of each of the other people. Basically.
Yeah. I called out Roca in mine.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people did. But yeah, so we get to the actual match. And we have our fun, intros and all that kind of good stuff. But going into round number 1, you and I were pretty much neck and neck until it got to question number 7.
Yeah.
And I will say I had to use a repeat on like the second question because I, for some reason, could not pull James McAvoy's name until like the last 3 seconds. And I knew there's no way I'm going to be writing it down in legibly.
Right.
So I asked for a repeat and then immediately wrote it down. And then when it got to that Transformers question, I do not know. Well, no, I know exactly why I did it, but I asked for a repeat. I did not have any clue because I've only seen those movies. I think I might have seen the first one maybe twice, but that's it. And it had been years. I was like, I know at some point I'm going to have to rewatch those, but I wasn't expecting anything that in depth yet.
Okay.
And I mean, some people would say, well, that wasn't really, that deep, but for me it was, and, so when they asked for the politician's, name in that movie, I was just like, I don't know. And I had a rule at the time, no blank boards.
Sure.
And and for the most part, I stuck with that. But there were definitely a couple of times that I was like, yeah, I'm not wasting a repeat, and I should have done that here. Because really, that's all it was. I just wanted to write something down on my board.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pointless repeat.
I would argue that that Transformers question and your 5-pointer should have been flip-flopped as far as like point value.
Oh, okay.
I would argue.
I mean,
that at least.
When I talked with Kat, we agreed that one of the questions in round 1 should have been swapped with my 5-pointer too. They were alien predator questions, both of them. That happened occasionally.
Yeah, everyone, and a lot of them were pretty even keel as far as like, honestly, like difficultness. But like, if you think of like the 5-pointer, and I'm just jumping ahead, but who is the star of all the movies in this frame? Like, that's like, okay. And even though it isn't a voice actor.
I was going to say, I think the reason that they made that a 5 is because it was a voice actor and not like somebody like Leonard Nimoy that people would know from a bunch of things.
Yeah. But versus who is this random Secretary of Defense or whatever he was in the first movie.
I will say I got both of them wrong. So it wouldn't have really mattered.
Right. Well, that's what I just mean, like objectively, I think. I don't know. It is what it is. Like, it comes down to what it is. But yeah.
But yeah, so you got that one. We both got the next question right, and then you got a bonus question, which I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I will say
Unbreakable. What was the what was the event?
Right. Yeah. And I remembered it now, but even if I had got that bonus question, I would have gotten it wrong.
Oh, really?
I would have sworn that it was a plane crash.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, again, that was a movie, like, honestly, that's probably my favorite M. Night movie, but I haven't watched it in years.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute. Yeah, I didn't Split was fine. I really didn't enjoy Glass at all, especially what they did to him at the end.
That's what a lot of people have said. Yeah. I haven't seen Glass yet.
Oh wow. Okay.
Partially because after everybody saw it, they were like, it wasn't that great. And I was just like, I still at some point want to watch it, but I'm like, I'm not expecting anything great.
I think I watched it for study reasons, honestly.
Sure.
If I'm like, there was a lot of movies on the list that I watched for that I just never seen.
Absolutely.
There was at least at the start of this journey of trying to play catch up, honestly, because that's what this whole last 2 years was me playing catch up, honestly. There was probably over 100 films just in the 300 film list that I hadn't seen, just never seen them before. I knew about, because about pop culture stuff, but I just hadn't seen the film.
Right. Yeah, no, I had only seen the original Predator. I hadn't seen any of those. I had not, I will say one, and people can complain about their Thor: The Dark World and all that kind of good stuff all they want. And I'm not saying that those are necessarily great movies, but the worst movie that I watched specifically for this league, AVP Requiem. That movie is the best way I can describe it is actively repellent. That movie, it's almost like it wants you to turn it off.
I've seen it once when it first came out, so it's been a long time. And I never went back to it. When I actually did start rewatching the Alien Predator, going through, part of my study sessions was going through them all, and I just never got to. I think I watched AVP and I just stopped. I was like, I've seen the rest.
Honestly, I don't mind Alien versus Predator, the first one. It's not great, but it's it's silly and fun-ish.
Right.
So yeah, I was
Sanaa Lathan's a lot of fun. She's really good as like a.
I was going to say, I remember really enjoying the lead in that.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah. No, that is a very good point. We have someone in the chat pointing out that half the fun was, when people hadn't seen the movies, and sometimes we just come up with ridiculous answers because
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just Fake it, Rach.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, throw something out there.
Right.
But yeah, so, at the end of round number 1, you're in the lead. We get to round number 2, and I think you were in the lead, so you threw it to me first. And
I always like to defer. Yeah.
See, and I was the opposite. I almost
Okay.
always preferred going first, mainly because somehow I felt more in control that way.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't really explain it. I know a
See-
lot of people were like, tactically, it's better to go second. And I was like,
I feel
sometimes,
yeah.
but sometimes not. And
I feel the opposite because you're more in control if you go second, and
Sure.
which is silly to think about. But if you know what your opponent did, then you know what
Right.
you have to do.
Whereas I don't want
yeah.
the pressure of how good you're going to do
Right.
put on
Yeah.
what I have to do. Because I'm like, I want to answer all the questions regardless.
Right.
I mean, yeah, maybe there's some strategy of, I can go to multiple choice. Oh, I can't. But, I'm not going to go to multiple choice unless I have to. That's just kind of was always my mindset. And if I need to go to multiple choice, I'm going to, because otherwise I risk losing points I could get.
Right.
But yeah, so we get to it. And I will say, looking at the wheel, I think I had maybe 3 categories on this that I was like, okay, I'd be all right with these. And I landed on mixed bag, which wasn't in that, but I did pretty well. I got all but one right, and of course you stole that one. that was kind of the way my second round almost always went.
It always ended up
that
way.
I would, I mean, with the exception of my first match. My first match, I ran the category with no issues, but every other match, there would always be at least one question that I missed, and the other person would be able to steal it.
Did you, in retrospect, do you think you would have rather stuck with Spider-Man because you landed Spider-Man first?
No, simply because Spider-Man. Now, I don't know if it had been landed on in this league, but I remember when they landed on it the first time in the Schmodown, it was ridiculous, the level of those questions. And that's really all I had in my head was the level of the questions in the Schmodown. And so I'm like, I know Spider-Man pretty well, but, if they, I didn't know the Marvel movies as well. And I was like, I'm almost certain that, it's probably going to be some stuff that I'm not as strong at. So, yeah, I after, like I said, I got scared by the way they did it in the Schmodown. And, like I said, I only missed the one in mixed bag.
Right. Yeah. No, you did well. Yeah, you definitely do. I had gotten Spider-Man in my match against Brendan. I got Spider-Man, and I did well. I got 7 of 8. I had to go to multiple choice on one of them, but so I was like, yeah, take it, or leave it. Either way, I was like, I'm ready to steal. And then how hesitant you were immediately, I was like, spin it again.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, I know Spider-Man, but I don't know if they put some deep cut stuff in there. I might not be able to hang. Yeah, exactly. And as you said, they'd already started to, start to tilt up the difficulty. So, really, they started tilting up the difficulty after the second IG match. I think right before my match with Kat, they started to up the difficulty, and I was like, no, that's where I wanted.
Right.
But yeah, so you still steal that, so you're already within 2 points of me, and then you get spinner's choice. You choose Superman, of course, and I think you only went to multiple choice the once.
I went to one. Yeah, what's the name of Parker Posey's character.
Right.
And I would have had Kitty, but I couldn't remember her last name. I'm trying to remember if they even say it more than once in the movie.
Sure.
And unless you're reading the cast list, which Superman was the easy strength of mine, so it was the go-to thing to hit. Maybe if Wizarding World wasn't on the wheel, otherwise I might have picked that.
I was about to say some of my best strengths, like Wizarding World or Star Trek, were not on this wheel. Middle Earth, I'd recently gone over Alien and Predator, so I might have been okay with that. Superman, Batman, although I will say that Parker Posey question I would have missed because I thought it was Mercy Graves.
Okay. Yeah. Mercy's a long time, second in command of Flex, but not in that film. If it was the other way around, if it was who plays Kitty Kowalski, I would have had it without multiple choice. Sure. I couldn't pull Kowalski in my head, so I knew I had to go to multiple. But yeah.
Yeah, and I doubt they would have given it to you with just the first name.
No, yeah. Kitty.
Kitty.
All right, give me multiple choice.
But yeah, so you have a sizable lead. I think you had a 5-point lead going into round number 3. And I hit my 2, and I hit my 3, which pushed you to your 2, and then I got my 5. And I told Steph in the post-match interview, I had gone over that the actor who played Optimus Prime. I had it. It was literally the top of my notes. I had it highlighted, underlined, all of this stuff. And for one reason or another, I had not read over my notes immediately before the match. I think if I had, I would have gotten it, but I didn't. And for some reason, obviously, I had the first name in my head.
Yeah.
And I actually almost said, I would have still been wrong, but I almost said Peter Hullen.
Okay.
Because for some reason I had this is so random, but one of my ancestors was a poet named Lincoln Hully. And for some reason, I had the name Hully stuck in my head. But I was like, no, it ends with an N, which is where and I was like, not Hully, not Hullen, Halloran?
Halloran?
Is that? Yeah, which is where I didn't even remember that until I rewatched the match, what I'd actually said. But that's how I got there. And I was just like, man, I was so close while still being completely wrong.
And honestly, you never know what other questions that they could have asked, like what are the longitude coordinates of something, or who knows how deep they would have gotten on anything else. It was tough. I enjoy the Transformers movie probably more than other people, not quite as much as other like Roka raves about it if you ever listen to his stuff. No. The first one I really like. Bumblebee is really good. The rest of them are give or take. But I was going to say
I like Bumblebee.
Yeah, I had rewatched them.
Unfortunately, the least popular one apparently.
Yeah, I sadly because it should have made way more money. I had rewatched them relatively recently enough to not to say make it a strength. I wouldn't have chosen it for like a spinner's choice, but be comfortable with it if I got it. And then in this last season, they added Power Rangers they made it a Hasbro slice, so they added Power Rangers. Right. So then I had to watch those 3 movies, and I had never seen the second. I hadn't seen the first one forever.
Oh yeah, it was Turbo.
Turbo. I had never seen it. It was.
I remember when that came out, but I never watched it.
You mentioned the worst movie you had to watch for studying. See, there's a tie between Turbo, Power Rangers movie, and Darkman. I hate Darkman.
I actually enjoy Darkman.
It was a slog for me. Didn't like it.
Sure, but I will say like Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, which I think is what it's technically called.
Yeah.
Just because I knew kind of like the language and the pace of the
Mhm.
show, I probably, would I have thought it was good? No, probably not. But I probably would have understood like
Sure.
the pacing and what they were the tone that they were going for in
Yeah.
that film.
Well, the first one came out when I was 8, so I
Yeah.
loved it. And then the
Yeah.
second one came out when I was 10, and so I should have watched it at that age. But even by
Yeah.
that time, I was kind
Sure.
of out of Power Rangers,
Yeah.
and I never seen it, and I never really watched Turbo, the show.
I watched it
So
here and there, but
yeah,
I think that's about when the show lost me. I
yeah.
watched that show for way longer than I probably should
I
have.
I knew about the kid that became an adult when he transformed, but I didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
anything about him.
Right.
I thought they had reused the kid from the first movie, but no, that wasn't it either.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was a whole mess. Yeah, Rach. I like Rise of the Beast. I am excited for that as well. Apparently, it's not getting great. There's not great news coming out of it.
Ooh. Yeah.
If you're listening to
New
news stories out
Transformers
there,
movie for everyone.
it looks
catching up.
cool,
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I like Anthony Ramos, so I hope he gives him a good starring role.
Sure. All right. But yeah, so you obviously ended up winning that match. And then you ended up having that was your third match. So
Yeah.
you only had one more match with Kat, which they I talked with them briefly about that match when we had our flashback. But like, do you remember much from that match? Like, what were your thoughts about that match?
Well, so that's when I was coming up with the belt idea to to make a people, because I was hounding PLD. I mean, if you ask PLD who was the most annoying, it might be me. I don't know. Because I wanted some sort of direction. Like I crave, whether it be in my personal life, at work, or on the show, like give me some feedback so I can change it and grow and go this way, go that way, and you pick which one you like better, type of thing.
Yeah.
And I told Christian this when I met him, when I got a chance to actually be in the showdown. I was like, hey, let me do it a few times. And he's like, no, I think we got it. Like, it was good. Like, because we filmed a couple scenes.
Sure.
But with like PLD and Brad, I didn't really get to talk to Brad too much. He was very busy. But I think I came in at such a late stage in the game that there was already so many storylines rolling that they had only limited amount of time to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I think the Syndicate was one of them. And I was probably I played spoiler to that. And then the European invasion was another one that I kind of played spoiler to. Yeah. And so I don't think that they had any, whether that was even an option in their mind or not, or I don't think I played the guy to the Merle. I wasn't like that. Like, I don't think it was that big of plans, but I never had, there was never any talk about storyline with me.
Sure.
Which I wanted more of, and I was hounding PLD about it.
Sure.
There was just no room, there was no time, because I didn't come until August. The season ended in October. So
I mean, I started in June. So about luckily we both ran into the thing that by the time we came in, they were kind of using the same people based on who was available and also who they liked working with.
A full heel. You know what? I'll pull up the video. You can see and Rach, Jake helped me film it too. Jake came over to my house and helped me record it. I'll pull it up if I can find it. I think it's on my computer, so I'll grab it. I talked with PLD a lot about it. And honestly, availability and people dropping out like last minute was a big thing, especially towards the end of the season.
Because remember
there was a lot of matches that got canceled before they were announced.
Well, because when Brennan's second match got canceled, like I said, they just played. I can't even remember what it was, but they replayed. I think a championship match or something like that. And I reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, as long as you give me like half an hour to put my face paint on, I'm down. You let me know.
Right.
And if this ever happens again, I can be someone you can pull in. I don't mind, especially if it had been a rematch against Brennan, like I would have been all for that. But, I think, they appreciated, those of us who were willing to kind of come in at a moment's notice. And not saying anything against anybody who couldn't. I mean, obviously we all have different priorities or different levels of things going on in our lives, but it definitely helped if you were available,
right?
For a match. But you said that they didn't really have much storyline. I will say, had we actually gotten a season 2, I feel like you probably would have gotten more. So let's kind of talk about like what you saw for yourself going forward. If there had been an FCL season 2, what did you see in store for Wingblade? Did you want to possibly go into the teams division? Did you want to form a faction? Did you like what kind of things did you see in your future?
I wouldn't have said no to a faction. I don't know about forming one versus joining one, but
Sure.
I think there was too many faction stuff going on, especially how faction team heavy the main show was getting.
Sure.
It's difficult because like, oh, I don't want to face, points, and I don't want to face off against my teammate, thing. And like, I feel like I got a little convoluted in that sense, but
I hated that it limited some of the matchups that we could have gotten. Because,
that's the only part. I wouldn't have mind joining. I just would not have wanted to limit options when it comes to matches. And like, cause we all have a common goal to make the show fun. So whether we're going against each other doesn't mean we hate each other in real life, right?
Absolutely
That type of thing.
Right.
Smithy. So teams wise, yes. Now, whether I would have reteamed with Brendan, which would have been fun, or anyone else, that would have been a good time. I would have loved to play with Elena. I think she's just the bright spot in any room she walks into. So it's so much fun.
Elena has been mentioned by just about everyone.
I think so. She's a ton of fun of a person to be around.
Yeah.
And so that would have been a lot of fun. But anyone, I've always felt like I could be a really good B player on like an A player's team to really offset the deep cuts of IG stuff where some of them may be a little weaker, type of thing. But I was down to do anything. And after the season ended too, and I made a point to set up the pins so people wouldn't have noticed. But I was like, oh yeah, I've never seen a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Meanwhile, I was binging through all 9 of them, 10 of them or something. Yeah. And so there was some, I was trying to have some aces in the hole basically in case we ever played teams. And
because I was the same way.
That was something that Maxwell was talking about with the Addams brothers. And they're like, oh yeah, these movies, that movies. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen those. And I wasn't lying.
Right.
But I had intentions and plans to go watch them. Just to keep them in my back pocket. Just in case they ever came up again. But I would have loved to play teams. Singles, I told PLD from the start, even before I had an IG match. I was like, look, IG's my bag, but if you need a guy if whose power got cut, if Jindoyan's power gets cut again, give me a call. Because I was sitting here watching them. Like I had at the time when the league started, I had Tuesdays off, so I was like, I'm just sitting here. Later on towards the season, I ended up started working Tuesdays, so it didn't become a thing towards the end of the season. But at the time, I was like, give me a call. I'm literally like sitting in my living room. My kids are doing homework. Like I don't, I got nothing else to do. So I was always down to hop in basically.
Yeah. So,
and then for future stuff. So in between seasons, I sent Christian a couple messages, just going, hey, like we never talked, but because we were hearing like news coming soon. Like that's all we were hearing. News coming soon. And we're like, when are we getting news? And now it's February. When are we getting news? Right. It's been 4 months. So I just sent him a message going, hey, look, I'm in California, like I'm local. And while we're waiting for the FCL to start up again, hopefully it does. Great. This is before we obviously got any of the bad news. While we're in limbo, like I'm down to come down to LA. Like I'm 6 hours away. Give me 2 weeks notice. I can drive down. I'll schedule it. I can get off work. I'll be there. If you need me to. I'm down to come in studio. I'd love to play or an exhibition match. Give me a Patreon match. I'd love to. I was like, I would love to challenge Riley to a Superman match. Like I was just throwing shit at the walls, seeing what stick. And his response was, cool. Thad handles the Patreon matches. I was like, all right. So it wasn't like a no, but it wasn't
Right.
very
Yeah.
communicative. But I know he's a busy guy, and I had
Yeah.
never talked to him before, and I sent him
Yeah.
like a novel. And that was, and I didn't want to just like keep harping on it. So I didn't like over message him too many times. It was just like, hey, I'm available. Hit me up,
Yeah.
please. I'm down to come down there. And luckily, you know, a couple months later, like they had a spot for me.
Right.
And this was before we got word whether the FCL was or wasn't coming back.
Right.
Because when I went to film the Schmodown, we had not gotten word yet that things were ending.
Yeah.
We did get word shortly after that.
Yeah.
Because I filmed like the first week of June. I think they made the announcement before the end of the month.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I think we
Yeah.
already knew before your first match aired. I think.
before it aired, yeah, we
Yeah.
filmed the first week of June, and it didn't air for like 6 weeks or something after that. I
Yeah.
think not till August.
Yeah.
But when we were filming, there was no signs of that whatsoever.
Right.
It was all steam ahead, and Glory and I won our match. So there was like, hey, if you know, you guys have a shot, and then the team's tournament. Like it was all kinds of plans that we were like, yeah, let's come back, let's do this, and obviously things didn't happen.
Yeah.
So it was heartbreaking, but even in that sense too, whether I showed up and was like shit the bed or did well, I was like, I'm down to play anywhere. I'll play online, I'll play in person. You know, put some trivia in front of me. I'll tell you what, it was a relief in a sense of things ending. Like I don't have to study anymore.
I was about to say that was
a lot of
very time consuming.
Consuming that went into it, especially watching things that you didn't really enjoy watching all the time. Yeah. But it was a good time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously, I'm sure, you know, had the FCL continue, you would have wanted to cement that IG championship. I know that there were whispers.
That's something I'm mad about.
Yeah, there were whispers.
I meant to take it. I meant to take it too spectacular. I wanted Christian to sign it to solidify it. And I wanted to get a picture of Christian and Brad like signing off on it. And I forgot it because I had to fly down, and so I didn't like drive it down or anything. Right. And then I meant to take it again, and when I went for the Schmodown, I forgot.
Studio,
I'm like, both times. The first time I literally had it sitting on this very desk. It sat here. And I left at like 4 a.m. So I was like scrambling to get out of the house to get to the airport, and I just left it. I was so mad at myself.
Man. Yeah. I mean, that I know that there had been whispers of, or at least suggestions of, oh, why don't we do an IG tournament and things like that? And I think we just didn't have enough people who could commit to it. I know that's the reason that they didn't do a singles tournament. And I think at the time, you know, there was me, you, Shimo, Kat. Were there any other Elena? Yeah,
Elena played.
Elena.
Keaton, if she came back.
Yeah, did Keaton get more than one IG match though?
I think she got a second match. I don't know if she got another IG match.
And then there was Matt Reed, who honestly I was hoping to
John
have
Knight.
To play in IG because you know his knowledge was a little spotty. But when they told me my match was against you, I was like, there are other people that are undefeated right now.
I even said that in our post match too. I was like, look, John's floating around at 1-0,
right?
And Matt was floating around at 1-0. John Knight was the other one that I couldn't remember earlier. And so, we had enough to do so I had pitched, I wrote a whole big old long email, sent it to Brad, PLD, Steph, maybe Thad. I don't know who else was in charge, Dwayne, whoever I could find emails for. I sent an email for basically pitching like a, almost like a Royal Rumble style, match, essentially start with 4-3, like on the table type of thing. And, you know, if any of them go, whoever gets out after the first one, boom, another person comes in, and then your score starts over. Boom, you go through, you know, basically a free for all type, mini free for all essentially. I thought it would have been a good time. And then the last two, have them play a second and third round type of thing. Whoever comes, you know, so all right, round 1 is over and you're down to the last 2. And I was like, I'll be seat number 1. Put me in there first. Like I wanted a chance to run the gauntlet. That was my goal, and I was down to do that. And it was like, all right, cool. That was kind of the response. Like, oh yeah, that sounds like a cool idea. And this was before this might have been right after my first match. Might have been right after the Brandon match when I sent that out.
Okay.
So,
Oh wow! So even before you really made your name in
yeah,
IG.
this was just it was just like, hey, when am I gonna, I want it in the match,
Yeah.
This is before Shimo was even said, hey, you're gonna play Shimo.
Right.
And I was just like, I just, let me get back in there. Like, I'm eager, I'm available. Like, let me,
Right.
but just, I'm like, I'm a dog. Like, point me in that direction you want me to run, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, here's an idea,
Right.
for, you could have it by ranking, like have another match or two for whoever you have. And then if you want to do a big thing to announce a champion,
Yeah.
the winner of this match would be the champion, right? So
Sure.
Shimo is undefeated, right? Let him be the number 1 seed, so he gets the easiest road. He can come in last, and whoever has 0-1 records or whatever comes in first. And so that was my solution for a limited availability. Like, just make sure all these people have one day
I mean,
free,
even if it is just 4, 6, 7 competitors, but then there is, can we get all of them on the same day?
Yeah.
But
if something's important, you make time for it. So
I was about to say, I would often be racing home from work, and I just tell them, hey, I got to leave like 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Right.
So
exactly.
yeah. But so obviously we've talked about, what was, what might have been, but obviously life has gone on since the FCL, since the Schmodown. So what are you doing now? What projects are you working on now, sir?
Projects, too many projects, not enough actual coming out projects. Just having fun, honestly. We like hit us up on Flick and Reel, Flick, the letter N, Reel, REL, like a movie reel. Hit us up on YouTube, Flick and Reel, on Twitter, etc., all the places. And we just have fun, we just do our thing. We do trailer reactions. We have a Friday night, we call it Friday Night Speakeasy, where we just hang out, we talk smack and talk about life. It doesn't even have to be about movies. We just talk about how was your week, and that's about it. We just do our thing. Other than that, I work, coach my kids' baseball team. I get sunburned. You can probably see I'm very red. I had 3 hours of baseball practice this morning, which I was rushing home to eat lunch real quick before we hopped in here. And just plugging through life. My kids keep me entirely too busy. I wish they would quit all the sports, but also I like that they're very active, so it's a good time.
Absolutely. Well, of course, we want to go ahead and let everyone know where you can find everything else that I do. So, of course, Twitter and Instagram at The Flying Cow Pod. You can also email me at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com. You can check out all of the various shows that we have, discussions, the Flying Cows movie list, Nostalgia Cow, and we also are about to bring back the Academy, which is, of course, the Oscars podcast that I do with myself, Hannah Kiefer, and Jack Allison, where we are going to be talking about the films of 1930, and that will actually be starting. We already recorded the first episode, but it won't be coming out until June, so we'll be running that during the summer. But yeah, we would love for people to check out all of those things. And also don't forget to check out the YouTube, where you can find movie battles. We got 2 full seasons over there for you to check out if you are behind. And then, of course, don't forget the Patreon, patreon.com/theflyingcow, where you can find all sorts of fun, exclusive stuff, including the Patreon exclusive podcast Around the Worrell, where we talk all things Ernest P. Worrell. Make sure to check all of that stuff out. And Sean has been a guest on a couple different things.
Yeah.
He's called a couple matches for movie battles, and was on Nostalgia Cow not too long ago. He had to sit there while I tore apart D2.
It's knuckle puck time. Let's go, baby. New ducks and old ducks. Let's come together.
Yeah.
Fly as one.
Yeah.
Rachel, just to answer, yes, they love Peaches. They love Mario and Peaches for best song at the Oscars. You heard it here. Let's go.
Yeah, it's getting quite a bit of traction. I haven't
Yes.
seen the movie yet, but I've already heard the song a couple of times. So yeah. But yeah, like I said, we will be back next time talking with somebody else about their time with the FCL. But until that time, moo.
Mm.